What's up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. It's Samantha here with Samantha's 140 by 40, and I'm coming to you guys from a different location. I am literally in my sick bed. So you probably were like, where you been? Where you been, girl? Once again, it's a whole thing. So I'm going to try to tell you guys what's been going on with me with as much information as possible, being transparent with you guys like I always am, but also trying not to gross you out. So we're going to get right into it. I did really, really well for the first 4 weeks off of the Wegovy. I maintained my weight back and forth kind of between 233 235 for a couple weeks, and then I maintained at 238 right up until I kind of had a health scare. Now, you guys know I've talked about back and forth my numbers being so good while I was on the Wegovy as far as my blood pressure, my glucose, my thyroid, all of those numbers have always been good. But one thing that I have been forever, well, let me start from the beginning. So I had a visit with my gynecologist for my regular pap smear. And while I was there, I was concerned about fibroids, right? And for those of you who don't know, they're basically tumors that can grow attached to the uterus, right? Usually they are benign, all the things. So I talked to my gynecologist about being concerned that I have fibroids. And so she was like, well, that's fine. We can take a check. So she did kind of like a finger check, so to speak. And she was like, I can feel something, scheduled an appointment for me to come back for an ultrasound. I came back for the ultrasound and all hell broke loose from there. So I go in for my ultrasound appointment, and I had the ultrasound two ways: topical, which is on the stomach like a normal ultrasound would be, and then vaginally. So they take a scope, they stick it up there, and they probe around to see what's going on the inside, right? So as I'm laying on the table, looking up to the sky, terrified that there's a problem, the ultrasound technician, she's doing her thing, and she was like, oh my God, why'd you wait so long to come in? And I was like, I'm sorry. So I said, so you see fibroids? And so she's like, well, I can't tell you. I'm going to wait for you to speak with the doctor. And I was like, bruh, obviously something's in there. You talking about why it takes so long? Well, mainly because I ain't got an ultrasound machine at my house. You know what I'm saying? I'm not up and through scooping and scoping my belly, checking for fibroids, right? So I came in when I was alerted to an issue. So she continues on. She's checking and she's checking. She's like, have you had changes like in your cycle? Are you bleeding heavily? I said, well, the thing is, the difficulty with me gauging based on cycle, the heaviness of my flow is I have always had an extremely heavy period, always, since I got my period in the 5th grade. And so, no, I'm not here because I'm having more blood. I'm here because I can feel some type of growth in my abdomen. I'm a stomach sleeper, and I can feel it like when I am sleeping. So she goes on, she's checking, she's doing the things, and she's like, are you having blood clots? I'm like, I'm gonna say it, nigga. I was like, ma'am, do the test or show me the screen. Because at this point, I'm irritated. You're getting on my nerves. I was already nervous when I got here. I'm super nervous now. And you talking, but that's the one hand, right? So obviously, whatever she saw at the time, right? I know what she saw now because I've seen the pictures and all of the things. But whatever she saw at the time was shocking for her. But mind you, I don't see what you're seeing. So it wasn't like when you go to get an ultrasound. I feel like I'm yelling. It wasn't like when you go get an ultrasound for to tell the sex of your baby, or you're checking on the baby and they turn the screen towards you. It wasn't like that. So the screen wasn't facing me. I couldn't see what was going on. None of that. So she's having all of these reactions and I don't see anything. So I'm nervous and I'm irritated. It's just a horrible experience. The worst bedside manner, 0 out of 10. I do not recommend this woman, right? So we do that part. Then all of this was happening with the topical ultrasound. So we get done with it. It's horrible, whatever. She's like, okay, you can go to the restroom, empty your bladder, come back, and we'll do the other part. And I'm like, okay, fine. So I leave, I go do it. As I'm coming back, the screen wasn't all the way closed. So when I walked in, she was at the computer, like behind the area where we were doing the ultrasound. So I could see the computer. And all I saw were dots all over. Red dots all over. I'm sorry if the camera's shaking, y'all, but red dots all over. So immediately I'm like, oh my God, there's a sea of freaking fibroids. Oh my God. So I'm freaking out even more now. So we do the rest of the ultrasound. She's having a hard time finding things. I mean, it just didn't seem like it was going well. You know what I'm saying? I could hear her clicking and, printing and doing all this stuff. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ in heaven. So the ultrasound, all in all, took like an hour and a half. Okay. And that is all active ultrasounding, not like in the weight room for my turn to be called. None of that. It was an hour and a half. So I really do think like she was doing her best, but also she sucked bedside manner wise. Do you see what I'm saying? So continue on. And I get a call back from my doctor, but also I see in like the patient portal the information. So I have several fibroids. They were 5 of significant size, the largest one being over 12 centimeters. Okay. So for those of you who have children in school, you see rulers on the regular basis, that's it. And I'm saying 12 centimeters, huge, right? So I'm worried about it. And then varying sizes from there. And then lots of other ones that were smaller, less significant in size. Okay. So I come in for the follow-up visit. I had already talked to her when we had the initial consult about the concern. And we talked about, whether I would need a myomectomy, a full hysterectomy, whether I wanted to try different medications to shrink the fibroids, blah, 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 blah. Now, you guys know I'm about to be 40, so really, I'm not interested in having more children. I have a 22-year-old son, and so I could be done with these periods. And so I was already like, hysterectomy will do. Thank you so much. So we come back in, and she's like, so you got a lot of fibroids. We're going to go ahead and take a sample, a biopsy, to make sure that none of them are cancerous. And then my recommendation is to do the hysterectomy, right? I'm like, yep, agreed. I've been wanting a hysterectomy like from the beginning of days. I never really wanted children. I'm so happy that I have my son, but he's not an only child by accident. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, yep, this is perfect. I would love to never have another period again in my life. Well, we have this conversation and we start discussing, all the specifics, whatever, the prep. And so October 17th is the date she gives me for the surgery. So this is like late September. We're talking like September 26th or so, where this is all taking place. So she draws blood to like kind of get a baseline of where we are. I showed her some of my lab results from when my Wegovy doctors with Sequence had me go in for labs. And so we kind of piecemeal things together to get the ball rolling. Like 2 days later, I get a call and the doctor says, hey, your iron levels are critically low. We need to have you get iron infusions. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, what does that mean? So I'm going on to the patient portal. I'm pulling up the labs, and the level was, I think, a 6.6 at the time. And so I'm like, oh my God, critically low. My brain right away was like, oh my God, I'm dying. This is the end of it. Now, I don't know why I'm dramatic like that, but 100% dramatic is what I am. So I go in and we do all the things, get the pre-authorizations, find a place that can do the infusions, because now we're getting closer to the surgery time. She wanted me to have 5 total infusions before the surgery. Well, you have to wait for the insurance and all of the stuff to approve the crap. And even for like an off-site clinic to pay out of pocket, whatever, you still have to go through and get the doctor's paperwork sent. It was just such an ordeal. So by the time I finally got scheduled, I was only able to have 3 infusions scheduled before my the surgery. I'm trying to go fast, but y'all, this video gonna be long, and so I'm sorry. But I schedule to the first infusion. I go, and then I have a second appointment where the doctor draws blood, and she's like, "Your levels are they haven't gone up. They haven't gone up yet, but just go make sure you get all the infusions. You should be fine before the surgery." So whatever. Long story short, I'm trying to keep down the hysterics, but I was so crazy, like, as I found out all these different things. So then fast forward some more, I go in for pre-admission screening for the hysterectomy. Okay. They draw blood and all the things. So they call me. I literally got from the hospital back to my house, and the hospital called me and said, "You need to come back right now through the ER. You need a blood transfusion. Your levels have dropped lower. You're at a 6.0. So for context, friends, your iron should be between 12 and like 18 or something like that. 12 being like the low number. Well, mine had dropped from a 6.6, which is half of the low, to a 6.0. So now I'm like, okay, well, am I for real dying? So basically, I was not getting any oxygen in my blood. And to think about it now, to look at the pictures now, I'll show you a picture of me the Sunday um, before the blood transfusion, versus a couple days later, a couple hours later, that kind of thing. All of this, my lips were blue and I had no idea. Like, you look at yourself, and I guess, and you see you every day. And so I'm a person obviously with melanated skin. I don't know what a pale person of my complexion would even look like. But looking back on the pictures now and how I looked at the time versus how I look today, and how I looked right after the blood transfusion, a few days after the blood transfusion, I was literally just suffocating.
Flowing massage your feet.
My color is good. I'm happy about that. From not having oxygen in my blood. And even though I was getting the iron infusions, there was not enough blood in my system to begin with for the iron to even be very effective, right? So now I'm like, okay, so it looks like I'm going to have to move the hysterectomy, right? Because this is now a couple days before. And the doctor was like, "No, you'll be fine once you actually get blood in," because I still had another infusion of iron before the surgery. So I go in, do that, whatever. So it's the day of. They draw blood, do everything. My iron levels were at a 10. So I had gotten enough in to be able to be safe and have the hysterectomy. So all of these things are going on, right? Today is October the 22nd. My surgery was on October the 17th. So, just context for that. While I was in surgery, I lost basically what she said was about a Coke can worth of blood in the surgery. She tried to go in laparoscopically to do the fibroid removal. However, they were so big, and the largest one, the way it was facing in the uterus and in my womb, basically, whatever, was like a horn sticking out, which is why I could feel it. And so she couldn't even see behind it to safely remove it laparoscopically. So I ended up having to have basically the total hysterectomy abdominally, which is they go in through a C-section scar or a C-section, right? So I'll have the scar along the bottom of my, or the top of my vagina. Does that make sense? Bottom of stomach, top vagina, fupa area, right? So, yeah, that's what I did. I mean, But let me just tell you, I had gotten up to in one weekend. Okay, so I was trying to hurry up and like celebrate nephews' birthdays, set up the house for Christmas so I wouldn't have to not be able to see Christmas. So I was trying to get all of that done before the surgery. So glad that I did, because she wasn't able to do the hysterectomy laparoscopically. So I'm basically not bedridden, but super light duty. I wouldn't have been able to be putting up no Christmas trees, hanging this and up on a ladder, doing all that kind of stuff. So yes, before my surgery, we had birthday parties for the nephews. I did eat. I don't know. I was depressed. I was eating like a lot. And so I had gone from 238, where I was holding like a month, y'all, holding at 238, and went to 244. So my pre-surgery weight was 244 pounds, like an idiot. I just was tripping out. But um, as of this morning, I was 237, I believe, again. And I'll insert, of course, you guys know, the scale or whatever. And I still am super swollen. It's a fresh surgery. It's just been a few days, like 5 or 6 days, I think, at this point, 5 days or so. And so I'm still very swollen, still healing, still very tender. I'm only allowed to like walk as in terms of keeping the circulation going and stuff like that. But I am so excited to be able to exercise full on. So you guys know I was doing the extreme workout with Phil with the step aerobics, and I was telling you guys, like, it was taking me a long time to get to the place where I could do the exercises full out. Well, it's because I wasn't getting enough oxygen. So all of this time I was like, dang, I don't know why I'm not getting, I felt like my health wasn't improving in terms of my endurance level with exercise, and I was only able to do certain things. But this explains everything: the anemia, the just the lethargy, all of that. And so I cannot wait, y'all, to completely heal up and be able to fully attack this goal. I feel like renewed and excited about the future. And also, because of how difficult my cycle was, I only was able to really exercise like almost 3 weeks a month, right? Because of how heavy I would bleed. It just was such an imposition to exercise while on my cycle. It was hard to exist in the world. Like it's when I think about all of the things I had to do to navigate being on my period in the world, when I worked in an office, just all the different things, being in school, oh, the stories I could tell. So anyway, that's where I've been. I've been trying to not die. I have been in surgery, and now I'm on the mend. So I absolutely am. I've gone back to logging in my fitness pal. I felt so horrible. Somebody asked me in the comments, can you remind me of your my fitness pal username? And I was like, oh God, I'm so bad about it. And I wanted you guys to join me there so that I would have accountability about logging, and I still ended up sucking. So I am right back on the bandwagon. Listen, y'all, if you don't do something that to your expectations, something the way that you anticipated you would be able to do it, start over. This is a journey. You have to learn, and you ain't gonna get it right the first time every time, but you ain't gonna get it at all if you don't keep pressing forward. So I am pressing forward. I'm excited to see how close to 140 I can get by my birthday. Here's the thing. They gave me 4 to 6 weeks as a recovery time. Now, that puts me, if it takes the full 6 weeks, to December 5th. I have my follow-up visit with my doctor on the 31st of October. That's my 2-week check-in. So I will do my best to not be absent-minded. I'm so weird about filming in public places too. I know nobody cares, but I don't know, I'm weird about it. But I will try to make sure to bring my camera and film the kind of intro, and I don't know if she'll let me film in the office, and I will, and see how things are going with the scar. That'll be a whole nother story, but I'm gonna let y'all go for now and show you guys pictures and all of the things. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, listen, it's not all about periods and fibroids and tumors and such. It really is about my weight loss journey and other things, right? We're expanding, so I guess it's a good thing that that you're joining now, because you'll be able to see really what this effort is going to look like. So I'm excited, guys. Make sure that you subscribe and comment down below if you've had fibroids, if you've had to have a hysterectomy, and if you have had issues with anemia, especially women of color and Black women, because I looked for pictures of what is called sallow skin, which is basically the paleness that you experience when you're not getting oxygen in your blood. And there was not a Black woman in sight, for an example. And I just was like, well, how the heck am I supposed to know that I look pale? I didn't know, you know what I'm saying, or what that looks like. So now my number is 8.6. I had my lab work done before I left the hospital. So 8.6 is where my iron was when I left the hospital. And right after the surgery, I could see where I was pale down again in the mouth down here, where I was kind of more grayish color. My lips were darker. The color around my lips, like even now, was darker, and so I could tell the difference. And so me being at presumably still an 8.6 regarding my hemoglobin and all of that, I can still tell in my color now that I know what to look for, where I'm not as my normal skin color with oxygen and all of that kind of stuff as I was with a 10. So you guys, let me know tips and tricks if you've had hysterectomies, especially plus size women, keeping your incision clean and dry when you have that belly hang. That's another thing that has given me so much encouragement to lose the weight, because it would have been a lot easier to do this process, deal with this situation, if I didn't have my stomach covering the cooch. So, yeah. I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.